I'd like to address that each tribe is different and holds different beliefs. When talking about each subject, I'll explain where the information is from tribe-wise. The knowledge I've gotten from Curve Lake, which is Ojibwe, is that gender is not decided until the child has experienced the world, and then the child's spirit makes the decision as to gender. Anishinaabe the Ojibwe language, does not have gender, which tells us that gender was not that relevant to our way of being. First off, I will be talking about the traditional gender roles. My first bit of information is based around the Plains natives. Women would clear fields, plant, hoe, harvest, and store food. They'd usually put up the lodges and teepees and also take them down. They'd collect wild plants and firewood, and they'd cook, and they would also take care of the kids. Bison hunts, they often made the decision on where to camp, and in the lodge, the senior wife was the main decision maker. They also had the right to divorce, and since they owned the lodge, an unkind husband would find himself homeless with only his horse and weapons to his name. Also held in high esteem for their craft work, they played an important role in healing, and they took care of religious items and responsibility of the highest order. The men of the plains were responsible for hunting, defense, and aggressive warfare, manufacture of weapons, and nearly all society-wide political and religious operations. They hunted on increasingly constant bison ranges and journeyed hundreds of miles to enemy encampments to steal horses and to win honors. The information I got on Two Spirits is from my reserve Curve Lake, which are woodland natives and Ojibwe. What I got was that they're very important, usually warriors, firekeepers, medicine people, peacekeepers, matchmakers, and knowledge keepers. I'll be now talking about Two Spirits. In many Indigenous communities, it is believed that there are more than two genders and that gender is fluid. Depending on the community, common gender identities are non-male or female, male and female, born one gender and live their life as a different gender, and in some communities, gender can change for ceremonial purposes. Two-spirit is only for the usage of Indigenous people. A rite of passage we have in my community, and I'd imagine more than just mine, a young person chooses where their spirit tells them in a basket and bowl ceremony. While some people choose basket or bowl, someone who is two-spirit would choose both, taking on both responsibilities. Two-spirits were so sought after that if a tribe did not have one, that they would go to other tribes looking for one. I will now be talking about how colonization has affected these roles. All this information is from Ojibwe people. Heidi Wheatung gave me this information about two-spirits. Residential schools took kids away and got rid of their culture and taught the kids that their culture was bad. Therefore, two-spirits were getting shunned by their communities. Elders also felt too scared to talk about it to people, everything, not just two-spirits, but that left out two-spirits, so people weren't able to find their own identity as well. So to this day, people who are two-spirit are not only facing racism, but homophobia from others and even from people in their own community. For a male perspective on this, I talked to my dad, Kirk Dixon. He said that all women got treated shitty regardless of the race, although Native women would lose their status if they married a white guy, versus men could marry, and if it was to a white woman, she would gain status. I asked him if there was any sort of gender divide in the community, and he said no. When I asked about his job, which he was a cop on the reserve, if women also did that, he said yes, there was lots of women cops. On a woman's perspective of this, I talked to my granny, Harriet Shaloff, and she said there was no gender divide on or off the reserve throughout her childhood. But when she married my papa, who is white, she lost her status. And when she could get it back, someone, she didn't say who, wanted to bribe her with money to not do it. But she didn't, and after around 10 to 15 years, she regained her status and then got it for my dad, my uncle, and my aunt.